The views, information, or opinions expressed during the Cult for the Culture podcast are solely those of the individuals involved. The content presented is not a substitute for seeking or seeing a licensed mental health professional.
Know what's up next, know what's up next. Healthy pleasure with it, coping for the culture. Better tune in, better tune in. Big sis, get 'em, big sis, get 'em. Coping for the culture, 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 cope.
Hey y'all, welcome to the Cope for the Culture podcast. I'm your host, Tiana Renee, the Culture's Advocate. On this show, we interview individuals from different walks of life who are dedicated to being the change within the culture as it relates to various topics and their effects on the world of mental health. So today is a solo dolo episode, y'all. I want to let y'all know that I have been up since about 5 something this morning. Could not understand why I was up. I never get up that early. That's first things first. So there's that. But anyway, in me being up, I've just had a lot of thoughts and I felt like it was only necessary to get up here and talk about those. So that's what I'm going to do today. Before I get into the topic though, because trust me, y'all, I'm ready today. I'm ready. I have some feelings today and I'm ready to get into the topic, but I'm gonna hold off for a second so I don't jump too far ahead of myself. So let's go ahead and get started with the shout outs for this week. So our shout outs today are a little different. I know I have been shouting out different individuals and their contribution to society and our culture and how they are helping to not make us better, but helping to make the world a better place. I'll say that. But today, I really just wanted to recognize Black and Brown people as a whole and shout us out. There are lots of things happening to us on a consistent basis that is very disheartening, very heartbreaking. It's a lot. And so I just want to shout us out for continuing to push through despite what the world shows us, continuing to be our beautiful Black selves and however that looks, and just moving through life being resilient. And I know that there are a lot of feelings around that and us having to be resilient and the fact that we have had to be resilient for a very long time. And I get it. I completely understand, and I want to acknowledge that we shouldn't have to be this resilient. However, because I don't want to negate what I said the first time. However, I'm proud of us for being able to persevere. Point blank, period. So I love y'all. And continue to be resilient. Continue to be yourself in the world, your true, authentic self. Appreciate your culture. Appreciate your skin tone. Appreciate who you are and what you have to offer to this world as a Black or brown person. Because we have a lot to offer. And just because the world is not allowing us to shine the way that we deserve to shine does not mean that we are any less equipped than anyone else, that we don't have skill sets, that we don't have talents, that we're not creative, okay? We're some of the most creative people. That's just that on that. But anyway, so that was my shout out for today. Whew. Okay. So let's go ahead and get in with the self-care check-in, y'all. All right, so self-care check-in today, y'all. Please, for the sake of you and me, stop watching traumatic videos. Y'all, there is way, I don't know what it is with this point in time, whether it's our generation, I don't know, but I cannot for the life of me understand how and why it's normal for us to watch videos of things that we should not see. For example, people being murdered. And I think that's a perfect segue into the topic today, because I could literally the whole self-care check-in could be the episode, because that's what we're going to get into. So the topic for today, or the title of today's episode, for episode 9, season 2, episode 9, is the sensationalism of Black bodies. Y'all, my heart is so heavy right now, and I'm tired. If I can be real with y'all, and I know I can, so I'm just going to say it again. I am tired. I am tired of us making it normal to see someone lose their life. I don't get it. I truly do not understand. And every time I come across a video, every time I can't make it make sense, y'all. And it bothers me to no end, because I cannot make it make sense. And I just really wanted to talk about that, because it's not just something that just started happening today. It's been happening for a while. And it really upsets me and breaks my heart. And I know I keep taking these pauses because I'm trying to, and my voice is starting to shake a little bit, but I'm trying to compose myself and be able to talk about this in a way that will help you guys be receptive to what I'm saying. Y'all, we really have to take a step back and consider what it is that we're doing. I hate that here we are in 2020, and for whatever reason, the world still finds a reason for us to not be enough to live, to not be enough to be in this world as who we are. I see that. I recognize that. And I do hate it. I do not understand. I do know that all behavior is learned. I do know that the things that we are dealing with are things that we have been dealing with for a very long time. The difference now is we have social media, and we have all of these different avenues to talk about these things that we would not normally talk about. Including videos and pictures that are not okay to share. I don't know how serious we think that this is, if we feel like it's okay. I think for some people, it really is a matter of fighting for justice and making it okay to be Black and brown in America or in the world. I respect that and I see that, but I know that there's a way for us to do that without sharing videos of people losing their lives in very traumatic ways. It's not okay. And it really is sensationalism. Like, why do we have to, what's the word that I'm looking for? Y'all, I can't find the word, but definitely sensationalism. Like, we use the Black and brown experience to make a point, I guess. I don't really know, and I can't make it make sense. And that's why I'm up here talking about it today, because I really feel like we need to look at this from a different angle. What we're seeing is what we consider in the trauma world as community violence. And the unfortunate thing about being Black and brown in America is most of the times the community violence happens within our communities. And yes, we have Black on Black crime, like people love to bring up and say. Yes, I see that. We also have people who are intentionally targeting and taking our lives because of the fact of what color our skin is. And that community violence is becoming more and more prominent. And I say community violence because it is. But in my mind too, I'm like, I was going to say it's one person, but it's not one person. Like, we know, and I can't say all police, so I won't say all police, but we do know that the police have a hard time with us when it comes to things such as routine traffic stops or being Black in America. I don't know. And I don't know how y'all are going to feel about this episode, but I feel like knowledge is power. And if we know something about something, we can do something about something. And I think there's something missing here with the advocacy work that we're trying to do and the trauma that we're throwing out into the world. It's traumatic enough for anyone to lose their lives by the hand of someone else. It's even more traumatic for that experience to be shown to the whole entire world. Your last moments in this world are being passed from page to page to person to person. Videos are going viral of people being murdered. Y'all, do we know that PTSD is real? Do we know that that is a real thing? I am a trauma therapist. Day in and day out, I am working with traumatized children and their families based on traumatic experiences that they have had, one of which sometimes is community violence. So I need us to consider this when we see that video and we decide to press share. People are able to get PTSD just from hearing about the details of an event. For an example, what's going on with Ahmaud currently in the news and him unfortunately losing his life for no apparent reason. Now his mom and his family and his friends and anybody else that was close to him has to watch over and over again the video of losing their loved one. He was a person. He meant something to somebody. People loved him, just like people loved Trayvon Martin and every other person's name who has become a hashtag. Yes, I understand it is wrong. Yes, I understand that we should not be slain in the streets like this. Yes, I understand that we need justice. But what I am telling you guys is giving our community PTSD is not justice. You can get PTSD, y'all, from somebody else's experience. That's what we call secondary traumatic stress. And let me just backtrack because I want to throw these facts out here for you guys and shine some light on what these things mean. So I keep saying PTSD. PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. PTSD is a mental health diagnosis that comes about when somebody experiences something that is scary and traumatic to them, now causing them to have symptoms from that experience. Okay? Secondary traumatic stress and or vicarious trauma, because as a clinician, vicarious trauma is a thing. But what those things mean is that you now have symptoms and things that you are experiencing that are PTSD-like based on someone else's experience. Hence, the videos being circulated around the internet. It's not normal to see something of that nature. Our mind cannot delete those images. And even if we feel like we are not affected, even if we feel like we don't think about it much after that, our body remembers. I don't know if anybody has had a chance to read The Body Keeps the Score, but that is definitely a book to read because it shines light on what it means to have experienced a traumatic event and then how your body responds to that. Think about how Black men feel currently in America. I want you to just stop right now. Close your eyes if you want to, and picture, especially my Black men, because I know y'all can see this, and for women too, for mothers, for children. The feeling that you get when you look in your rearview mirror and there's the police there. Your heart racing. Being anxious automatically, hypervigilant, worried about what's going to happen, keeping your hands on the steering wheel so you don't have to worry about being perceived as a threat. Those things are symptoms of this thing that we keep doing, this cycle that we keep perpetuating. Our community is suffering. Yes, y'all. It is hard. It is hard to be a Black person, a brown person, a person of color, a quote unquote minority, marginalized group. It is hard to be that in America. And I want us to have the same chance as everybody else in the world. I want us to have the same opportunities. I want us to pursue the same things. However, we also have to figure out a way to fight for justice, to spread awareness, to do all of those things without making these families of these poor lives that were lost having to re-experience what they are already experiencing from losing their loved one over and over again. Think about if it was you. And I know that's hard to think about because we're alive right now. But I know in my heart of hearts, if something was ever to happen to me that was in a traumatic nature, I would not want that on the internet. I wouldn't want, if I was a parent, my future children to be exposed to that, because we know that the internet, once it's up there, it's up there. I'm not sure whether or not he had children, but I know that there are people who have lost their lives. There are Black men who have lost their lives that had children. And they have to see that. I need us to understand how inappropriate it is, how wounding it is. This doesn't help push our culture forward. This doesn't help us heal collectively. This doesn't help us fight. And I know it's not all of our fault. I know where we are coming from. I know that this has happened time and time again and we haven't seen justice. It's mind-blowing to me that it has, like, if Trayvon Martin was still alive, he would be an adult. That's mind-blowing to me. And it's still happening every day in America. And I get it. But we really have to figure out a way. And I want us to be aware of what some of those PTSD symptoms look like. Okay? We have things such as hypervigilance, which I know majority of Black men in America are hypervigilant. All that means is you are constantly on guard, on edge, waiting for the next thing to happen, waiting for some perceived danger, because the world has shown you that you being a Black man in America is dangerous and that deserves death. So you have hypervigilance. You have intrusive thoughts, which means you are having thoughts that you do not desire to, but they are coming anyway, and you have a very hard time, if not being able to at all, stop those thoughts. You have flashbacks, which means you're re-experiencing the event, like you're back there all over again. And when we think about PTSD and we think about flashbacks, I think most people go to soldiers and go to war. But think about the reasons why soldiers have PTSD. Think about what they're exposed to when they go over to these other countries and they engage in war. They're exposed to murder of women, men, children, all of that. The same things that we are exposed to in this world as citizens, as people, as Black people. We're exposed to those same things. So you don't have to be a soldier to have PTSD. Your experiences are valid. What you have dealt with is valid. So we have intrusive thoughts, we have flashbacks, we have hypervigilance, we have emotional dysregulation, or not being able to manage your emotions, which means you can either go to 0 to 100 real quick to make it make sense for y'all. You have uncontrollable sadness or uncontrollable anger or uncontrollable anxiety because you're worried all the time. You have aggression. I've said this recently in a conversation with one of my friends. We were just talking about everything that's happening. And one of the things that I said to her in that conversation was, and I try to tell people this all the time, that anger is a surface emotion, right? Which means there is something underneath that anger that is the true feeling, but it comes out and is displayed as anger and aggression, right? So what I told her was, an angry person most times is a hurt person. Anger and aggression is not a primary emotion. It's a secondary. It's the manifestation of something else. Think about when your feelings are hurt. For those people who are like me, who get mad that they cry, you understand what I'm saying. But this is really a thing. And so with our men, they are angry. They may be aggressive at some times. And to be honest, I don't blame them. I couldn't imagine or fathom for the life of me having to be on guard day in and day out and worrying whether or not I'm going to make it home that day. I am fearful of the welfare of my future children. I'm fearful of having sons and having to explain to them what it means to be a Black man in America, according to America, not according to us. Because as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing wrong with that. But the world has decided something different. So now we have to have these teaching moments, these conversations, so that we protect our people. Who wouldn't be angry if that's the lesson that you have to learn? And it's not just us sharing videos. I recognize that other people are sharing videos too. But the change that we're going to see is going to start with us as a collective, us working together, us figuring this thing out. Because I'm tired. I would really love to get on social media and not see any of this. I have gotten to the point, and I'm adding this to the self-care check-in for you guys when it comes to limiting media coverage and exposure. I have gotten to the point where when people try to show me things, I'm like, hold on now, what is it? My mom will tell you firsthand. Mom, is it something traumatic? If it is, I don't want to see it. I can't see it. Okay? So it's okay to say that. It's okay to unfollow people who can't respect these people's lives and stop posting these videos. That's okay. It's okay to do that. You have the right to choose what you are exposed to. And if you feel like there are people you follow pages you follow, media coverage you follow that are consistently doing these things and consistently perpetuating the cycle of sensationalism of our Black and brown bodies, let them go. You have to protect your mind at all costs. There are so many things being thrown at us from every direction, and the things that we can control and have a say in, we need to have a control and say in that and help ourselves. We have to help ourselves. We can't depend on the media to help us. We can't depend on law enforcement to help us. And that sucks to say, but right now it is the reality. So we have to do what we can do as people to protect ourselves from having more and more trauma, more and more wounds added to our heart as a result of what we are experiencing. Even me as a trauma therapist, I'll be real with y'all right now. When I first started being trained in trauma therapy, that was the hardest year of my life. Not of my life, but like as a professional. Hardest year of my professional life. Like when I was working with children before, I was doing more behavioral based therapy. But one thing I learned and noticed was that majority of the kids that I worked with had dealt with something that was traumatic for them and had not had a chance to process and heal from that. So now they have these symptoms and behaviors that people think that they're just being bad, but in reality, they're either experiencing abuse or neglect or community violence and all these things. And now they have these things that people are passing off as, oh, they're just bad. They don't know how to listen. They need a whooping. Whooping don't solve everything, y'all. And if I'm being honest, some of us being whooped is half of the problem. We can't be mad at the world for beating up on us when it happens at home. And I know I'm gonna ruffle a lot of feathers with this episode, y'all, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it. And trust me, there'll be more to this topic in particular, what I'm talking about right now with the abuse at home, to come. Because we do need to bring certain things to light and stop passing on generational trauma as parenting. And I'm not blaming us for the traumatic experiences that we have had, because those things are not our fault. But what I am saying is we have the ability to control what we can control. And that's what we have to focus our attention to. And I love y'all for real. Like I really do. And the whole time I'm sitting up here talking, my mind, y'all know my anxious mind, just keeps saying, ooh, girl, they're gonna be mad at you. They're gonna be mad at you, girl. Because people don't want to hear it. I'm not being confrontational, y'all. I promise I'm not being confrontational. I'm being informative. When I decided to become a therapist, I became a therapist because I wanted to help people. I have the skills now. I have the knowledge now. I'm still learning every day. And the more I learn, the more that I'll put out there for us to learn. Knowledge is power. If we know what's going on, if we know the skills, if we know how to do certain things, we can push ourselves forward. So the way that I've decided and accepted as a part of my purpose is to get these messages out there, to get these conversations going. I really challenge you to sit down with your tribe of people and really discuss how you guys are being affected by the things that are happening around you, by the videos that you are seeing, by the media that you're being exposed to, and start having these conversations about how we can change that narrative, how we can break down sensationalism of Black bodies. I'm sick of us being hashtags. I'm sick of us being the breaking news coverage. I'm sick of us showing these videos day in and day out, and the people who are on those videos get to live and walk freely, while the families and children and parents and everything else of those victims have to be exposed to that. It's not fair. And I'm getting emotional because it really makes me upset. I want so much better for us, y'all. I get it. I have 2 brothers. I have little cousins that are males. I have uncles. Like, I have it and I get it. And by the time, the younger generation of males that I have right now and the females in my family, by the time they grow up, I want something different for them. God forbid if something ever happened to any of my brothers, I would not want their daughters to be exposed to that, for them to have to see for the rest of their lives a video of their father losing their lives. I would not want that. Y'all. If you don't get anything else from this episode, stop sensationalizing Black bodies. Stop watching traumatic videos. Stop sharing traumatic videos. Stop exposing us to secondary trauma, vicarious trauma. Okay? Like I started to say earlier, when I became a trauma therapist, that first year was so hard for me. And it was so hard for me because I was not used to being exposed to the amount of trauma that I was being exposed to. And my mind did not know what to do with it. And that's half the reason why I won't expose myself to more traumatic things. I chose to do this work because children need a voice. Children deserve to heal. Children deserve to live in the world as themselves, free of PTSD. I know I can't stop things from happening to children and their families, but I can help them heal and grow from it. And I can do the same thing on this podcast, and you can do the same thing from where you're sitting and listening from. It all starts with us. Have a conversation today. Stop sharing today. Okay? I love y'all. I mean it. We're going to figure this thing out one way or the other. We're going to cope for the culture one way or another. And the way to cope is to recognize the things that are not healthy, the patterns that we have developed that are not healthy. That's where we start. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and get out this thing, y'all. It's been real. I hope y'all still love me after listening. Catch y'all next time. Bye, y'all.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. It's Tiana Renee here. To make sure you stay up to date on all information related to Cope for the Culture, be sure to follow us on social media. We are on Instagram at Cope for the Culture Podcast, Twitter at Cope, 4, the Culture, and on Facebook at Cope for the Culture Podcast. As always, I appreciate you for tuning in. Bye, y'all.